darkness. In the stillness of the Portuguese evening, with the warm hush of waves brushing the coast of Praia da Luz, a mystery was born. One that would grip the world for decades. A small girl, innocent and smiling, vanished from her holiday apartment. And in her place, a chasm of questions no one has been able to fill. This is the story of Madeleine McCann, a tale not just of disappearance, but of obsession, media frenzy, international investigation, and a family torn apart by the unknown. Let's begin. It was April 28th, 2007, when Kate and Jerry McCann arrived in the quiet resort town of Praia da Luz, Portugal, with their 3 young children, Madeleine and the twins, Sean and Amelie. The McCanns, both doctors from the UK, had booked an apartment at the Ocean Club Resort. It was comfortable, unassuming, perfect for a relaxing getaway with friends. They weren't alone. The trip was organized with several other families, 7 friends in total, many of them doctors, just like the McCanns. Each family had their own unit, but the group would often dine together, laugh together, and take turns caring for each other's children. The days were filled with sunshine, ice cream, and laughter. Madeleine, just days away from her 4th birthday, was a spirited child. Curious, lively. She had a mop of blonde hair and an expressive face, with a unique feature that would later haunt newspapers around the globe. A distinctive coloboma, or blemish, in her right eye. At night, while the children slept in their apartments, the adults would gather at a nearby tapas bar, just 50 meters away. They agreed to check on the children at intervals, rotating throughout the evening. A system, one that, at the time, felt safe. Until it wasn't. Thursday, May 3rd, 2007. The final full day of the holiday. It began like any other. Madeleine attended the kids' club in the morning. Kate and Jerry played tennis. The family had lunch together by the pool. There was no indication of what was to come, except perhaps a moment Kate would later recall with unease. Madeleine had asked her mother that morning, "Why didn't you come when we were crying last night?" Kate brushed it off. Perhaps it was just a dream. That night, around 8:30 p.m., the McCanns put the children to bed. Madeleine was wearing pink and white Eeyore pajamas. They left the apartment at 8:35 p.m., heading to the tapas bar. They sat with their friends, close enough to see their flat if they leaned just right. Jerry checked the apartment at 9:05. All was quiet. At 9:30, another friend, Matthew Oldfield, checked again, but only listened at the door. He didn't enter the room. Then, at 10 p.m., it was Kate's turn. She returned to the apartment. Something felt off. The bedroom door was wider open than before. She walked in. Madeleine's bed was empty. At first, she thought Madeleine might have wandered to her parents' room, but she wasn't there. Kate checked under the bed. In the wardrobes. Nothing. She ran back to the restaurant, screaming, "They've taken her. Madeleine's gone." And just like that, the stillness of Praia da Luz shattered. The Portuguese police, the Polícia Judiciária, were called, but not immediately. Resort staff and friends searched first. valuable time ticked away. The borders were not closed, no roadblocks set. Officers arrived just after midnight, but the scene had already been compromised. Over 20 people had walked through the apartment. Evidence was touched, moved, erased. From the beginning, something vital had been lost. The first hours. By sunrise, Madeleine McCann's name was known across Portugal. By the following day, it was known across the UK. The story, a beautiful British girl vanishing from a foreign resort, ignited the media like wildfire. Search dogs were brought in. Local terrain was combed. Interpol was alerted. Posters were printed. A £100,000 reward was offered by a British businessman. But there were no signs of forced entry. No fingerprints that led anywhere. No ransom note. Nothing. With the media came the tips. Thousands of them. People claimed to see Madeleine in Morocco, Spain, Malta, even Brazil. One of the earliest and most significant was from a tourist named Jane Tanner, a friend of the McCanns. She reported seeing a man carrying a child in pink pajamas around 9:15 p.m., not far from the apartment. She hadn't thought much of it at the time, but later, her account became a central part of the case. Despite the leads, none of the sightings led to Madeleine. Each one offered hope and then disappointment. The trail grew cold. Months passed, and in the absence of clear evidence, suspicion began to twist. In September 2007, 4 months after the disappearance, the McCanns were declared arguidos, or formal suspects, by Portuguese police. Why? There were several reasons. A cadaver dog had indicated the scent of a body in the apartment and rental car. Reports suggested inconsistencies in Kate and Jerry's statements. There were whispers, unproven and ultimately unfounded, that the parents had sedated the children, and Madeleine had died accidentally. The public turned. Newspapers ran wild headlines. Kate was vilified for not crying enough. Jerry for being too calm. But there was no hard evidence. No confession, no body. By July 2008, the Portuguese authorities shelved the case and cleared the McCanns of suspicion. But the damage was done. Unwilling to let the investigation end, the McCanns launched their own search. They hired private investigators, set up a website, raised funds. They fought to keep Madeleine's face in the public eye. They met with popes and prime ministers. They never gave up. In 2011, under pressure from the British public, the UK government ordered a full-scale review of the case. Operation Grange, led by the Metropolitan Police. It would take years, but something new was coming. In 2020, a breakthrough. The German police announced a new prime suspect, Christian Bruckner, a convicted sex offender already imprisoned for unrelated crimes. He had lived in the Algarve around the time of Madeleine's disappearance. He owned a camper van. Phone records placed him in the vicinity of the Ocean Club that night. German prosecutors declared they had concrete evidence Madeleine was dead and that Bruckner was responsible. But as of now, he has not been charged. The evidence remains sealed. The case still open. Madeleine McCann would be 21 years old today. Her face, frozen in time at age 3, still appears on missing posters. Her case sparked international reforms in child protection alerts. It raised awareness of missing children in the UK and abroad. But at its core, it's a story of grief, of not knowing, of parents who go to sleep each night wondering what became of their daughter, and of a little girl who should have come home from holiday, but never did. Some stories end with justice, with closure, but some, like Madeleine's, remain suspended, not in peace, but in possibility. As you drift off tonight, perhaps think of the unanswered questions, the people left behind, and the quiet hope that one day the truth may finally surface. Thank you for listening.